Hello my friends, let's talk about NieR Automata again. At the end of Alpha, I left a crude teaser for what today's topic was going to delve into. The letters HE could have meant any number of things, but alas, they were just initials meaning human exceptionalism. Human exceptionalism is the idea that humans are unique or above all other forms of life or existence on the planet. A version of the idea can be found in nearly every culture throughout the world, sometimes demanding that people fulfill ethical duties to non-human animals, while others treat humanity as having free rein to manipulate and control other forms of life. NieR Automata, however, definitely falls into a camp that denies this idea entirely. Probably better called human non-exceptionalism, NieR Automata seems to stay in step with the original NieR's treatment of looking at many different kinds of life having full personhood and rights. So, in this game where humanity is entirely distant and absent, how does NieR go about saying anything about humanity at all? In the very first moments of the game, we get to learn some of the background history that forms foundational beliefs and goals of the Yorha project. Androids were made in the image of man, using pretty heavy biblical similes to accomplish this. The mission statement of Yorha ends up equating humanity and the androids together. For the glory of mankind, ends up meaning for the glory of ourselves, because of how similar androids are to humans. Because the mental life of a human and the androids are one and the same. Second, we see the game work on the long process of equating the androids to the machines, and not just in their obvious intelligence and ability to communicate being followed by the blind denial on the part of 2B and 9S. When we first go to the desert, we see an awkward scene of a large robot orgy, capping off a series of robots mimicking old human society. These robots, through sex, somehow find a way to give birth to a new kind of machine that is indistinguishable from androids, thus equating the machines and the androids. Third, through the final scene of Route A, we see 2B killing 9S's body once again, in an oddly erotic mounted position. This scene is directly paralleling the machine orgy in the desert. Once 2B and 9S's act is complete, 9S is reborn into one of the larger machines. These androids, through sex, give birth to a machine consciousness. In truth, 9S's entire mechanic of hacking into the machines and occupying their bodies fully equates the androids and the machines. Now, you may not buy that this final scene represents a sexual metaphor, but considering that NieR's story is no stranger to violent romance, particularly with Kaine's almost kiss scene as described in Grimoire NieR. But for an in-game source, the screen where the machine network forces 9S to admit that he wants to fuck 2B nearly immediately precedes this final fight in 2B's Route A. So at this point you'd think that we would probably be finished, but not so, because there is a fourth kind of life to consider here: animals. The first non-machine characters that can be killed in the game are the flock of birds that are shown flying away from the abandoned factory. They can be shot down with pod bullets, and at any other point in the game, can be killed in the same way. When we first get to the ruined city, 9S reports that the machines are oddly non-aggressive, and that the plants and animals have strangely grown to immense size. To many players' surprise, the moose and the boars that occupy the field would easily attack any player that approached too quickly. Since the riding animals of the game consistently go up in level with the player, and since they boast a much heartier health bar than the machines, they make a formidable early game enemy. But why include animals at all? Are they just a remnant from NieR's past? Well, my friends, I think you might underestimate the ludonarrative resonance of this franchise if that's what you think. For one, philosophers like Descartes referred to animals as automata for lacking in the rationality we think defines the human brain. There is a particular chain of side quests that start when you discover a hidden stable being run by a mysterious machine in the forest. The final quest being to go stop a disturbance that has been threatening the animals. This disturbance turns out to be a machine that believes itself to be a moose, and leads a pack of moose which will quickly kill without mercy. NieR asks, I wonder why it's okay to kill some animals and not others. This questline equates the machines with animals, and by extension equates humanity with the rest of animal kind as well. NieR's question becomes more important with this realization. Humans, androids, machines, and animals are all on the same level. None are exceptional to the rest. Animals kill other animals. Androids and machines kill each other, and humans are no different. But what does accepting this human non-exceptionalism mean? As equals, is it thus our duty to never kill another living thing? Or are there no duties at all, because the state of the world is a state of war, and none of these other beings will guarantee your peace or your life for you? When we are all automata, the burden of finding meaning as a rational animal becomes far more rigorous, nuanced, and heavy. Hello, my friends. Sorry about the slap job response section that I'm going to do for this. I had planned to have it be a bit more edited, but I ran out of time, so here we go. First commenter who guessed on what the topic of this video would be is T. Van, who went with human emotion. Obviously not perfectly the correct answer, but then again, that wasn't really the point of this little game. However, I will say that human emotion, or at least how the androids experience human emotion, is still a big factor that leads you to realize as a player the equivalencies that Yoko Taro is putting into the game to connect the androids and the humans and the robots and all of that. And so without those emotional through lines and connecting it to human experience, I don't think Yoko Taro could have made that argument in the same way that he did. Moving along, my boy Iroquois Pliskin, he guessed human evolution. However, I don't really see actual evolution taking place in this game, mostly because well, for one, there aren't any humans in the game, as well as the fact that the robots, the machines, are kind of caught in this repetitive cycle of repeating human societies and certain forms of it without really changing or adjusting or learning from mistakes. That's sort of one of the big history points, data points that NieR kind of latches on to, and makes it extra visceral when we start getting into, you know, all the stuff that Yoko Taro is starting to write for NieR Automata outside of NieR Automata just to screw with us, and how the androids themselves are actually in this Project Yorha thing because of a repeat situation that happened with an android called 9 and not 9S, but then 9 is actually inside 9S. It's crazy. That's why I stick to the video games, because the side stuff goes nuts. But thank you for the guess, as always, and I want to think on that more, because the lack of change seems to be one of Yoko Taro's main themes, and evolution is itself a gradual progress of change. And Yoko Taro doesn't do hopeful, and change is very hopeful. Evolution is hopeful. And on to number 3, Robert Smalls, who guessed holism and evolution. Again, evolution, I don't really see any evolution taking place in this game. But I guess in a certain sense, Yoko Taro's games are, or at least his stories in general, tend to have a very holistic approach to history, towards progress, mostly because only two things really act as catalysts for Yoko Taro's stories, at least with the NieR franchise. It's been either a complete apocalypse that leaves room for something else to grow and take place and become the new main thing that exists on the planet. I mean, first, all the humans die off and we have the replicant world of the original NieR. All the replicants die off and we have the android world of NieR Automata. If we kill off all the androids and the robots, maybe the next NieR game is just going to be a bunch of gerbil people running around with guns and swords and things like that. That would be cool. That was a weird tangent. But then the second way that he forms his stories is by having cyclical cause and effect, such that everything that you play through is something that has already happened in some sense somewhere else. And the world is just on repeat because history repeats itself. I think that's one of Yoko Taro's favorite themes. And it also allows him to make a lot of stories by changing slight details so that when he makes a future story or a prequel or sequel story to it, he changes just a few more details, and he changes significant details such that it becomes a very deep sort of cycle. Like, you see chances and opportunities to push out of it that people tend, or that anyone happens to just not capitalize on. So in that sense, in the cause and effect sense, Yoko Taro games do follow a kind of holistic philosophy of seeing everything as one rather than individual or separate parts, because every one of the parts in his stories have a very large effect on all of the aspects of the story. But that's it for the people who've taken guesses. Thank you very much. I really enjoy having these ideas to bounce back and forth on. I think I enjoy more actually being able to talk about them in the comments than just throwing a video together and keeping my mouth shut and being like, ooh, what could it be? But I liked this. This was fun. So again, to T. Van, Iroquois, and Robert Smalls, also killing softly just for saying that I got a good video. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I hope I'll see you in the next one. I'm probably just going to play my normal outro then, which is just me talking. Well, have fun listening to that. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you liked this video even a fraction of the amount that I loved NieR Automata. If you did, consider supporting my channel by subscribing and maybe take a look at my Patreon page as well. And as always, stay true.